A German shepherd became a true mother to two abandoned lion cubs, who were abandoned by their own lion mother. However, a few years later, something shocking happened. In a small wildlife reserve called White Lion, there had been a lioness named Sirona for a year. On September 18th, a remarkable event occurred. Sirona gave birth to two beautiful cubs of different genders. However, these were Sirona's first births. Moreover, Sirona had come to the reserve after she had nearly perished in the wild due to a severe illness. Because of this, Sirona was very restrained, distrustful, and insecure. All this led to the lioness not developing maternal instincts after the birth of the two cubs, and she rejected her own offspring. The reserve staff waited anxiously for 3 days, hoping Sirona would eventually display maternal instincts and start feeding her cubs, but it was in vain. On the 4th day, veterinarians tipped the little cubs from their mother. They were a brother and sister who were extremely emaciated because Sirona had not fed them at all. The reserve staff even feared the cubs might not survive, but fortunately, the veterinarians managed to feed both with a nourishing milk formula from a bottle, and within a week, they already looked much better, and their lives were no longer in danger. However, the staff understood that the nourishing milk formula alone would not be enough for the cubs. Without their mother and her milk, the animals would grow up weak and skinny, not resembling the graceful African predators, and their health would be very poor. Fortunately, a family from a neighboring town agreed to transfer their 8-year-old German shepherd named Sandra to the reserve to nurse the cubs. The dog had recently given birth to puppies and had plenty of nutritious milk. Veterinarians knew well that dog's milk is suitable for many animal species, including lion cubs, as it contains all the necessary components for normal development of the young. Of course, when Sandra first entered the enclosure with the little cubs, the entire reserve staff was silent with tension. Fortunately, the dog accepted both cubs, and within minutes they began to suckle her nourishing milk, allowing all the staff to breathe a sigh of relief. The veterinarians were very pleased, as it was a unique case where a member of one species accepts the offspring of another, especially wild animals. The most surprising part of this situation was that Sandra, since her puppyhood, could not stand cats and always barked at them. But in the case of the cubs, the amazing dog immediately sensed that the young needed urgent help and soon became their real adoptive mother. Of course, the cubs needed much more milk than ordinary puppies, but the veterinarians were not worried, as Sandra had already given birth to up to 8 puppies at a time, and she had nursed them all by herself. This time the dog had only 1 puppy, and she had no trouble feeding him along with the 2 lion cubs. When the cubs significantly grew in size and weight a few weeks later, the staff just added a bit of the milk formula to their diet in a bottle. The little lioness was weaker than her brother, and her health initially caused concerns among the veterinarians, but thanks to the help of the German shepherd, she managed to recover and catch up with her brother in development. The cubs quickly began to grow and started playing cheerfully with each other under the constant supervision of Sandra, who not only fed both cubs, but also meticulously licked them every day with her tongue to prevent them from getting fungal or other dangerous diseases. And at night, the dog warmed the adoptive children with the warmth of her own body. Several weeks passed. The cubs had grown significantly and even became larger than their adoptive mother. Their sharp teeth and claws posed a danger to Sandra, so the dog was taken back home, and the cubs were moved to a new spacious enclosure where they felt great and continued their development. The entire reserve staff was very grateful to Sandra, who had saved 2 abandoned, defenseless creatures. 2 years later, both cubs had turned into beautiful, graceful lions and lionesses. Sandra's owner, invited by the reserve director, came there with his dog so she could see how her adoptive children had grown. The German shepherd stared at the stern African predators for a few moments, then unexpectedly ran into the enclosure. The reserve staff flinched, as it was hard to predict the reaction of the adult lions, who had not seen their adoptive mother for 2 years. The predators immediately headed towards the dog and first sniffed the stranger. One of the staff members already wanted to enter the enclosure and pull Sandra out before the lions tore her to pieces, but the reserve director stopped him. The director realized that the lions recognized their adoptive mother, and within moments they began rubbing against her with their thick fur, then lay down next to Sandra, feeling like little defenseless cubs again. The dog began licking her significantly grown adoptive children, also not forgetting them after 2 long years. The scene was so touching that many of the reserve staff could not hold back tears, and the dog's owner was amazed at how strong the love between a mother and her children could be, even if they belonged to completely different species.